Now that I actually have this activated, we'll run through a patient simulation. So the first thing that you do once you get into the OneDose platform is you start your LPR. So to start an LPR, you can either press this plus button to activate patient, the LPR, or you can add any patient demographics. So you can do that using your 8-base formula, direct entry, or your pediatric color. But in this simulation, I'll run with a 7-year-old pediatric patient. And now, coming from dispatch, you got that the chief complaint is difficulty breathing. So you can go to your search bar and you might know that you need respiratory distress. So I'll jump into respiratory distress. And now at scene, you mix your duoneb by giving that albuterol, epinephrine, and then we'll also give acylumedrol. For the point of the simulation, I'll skip past all this and jump to the part that everyone actually cares about, which is sending that over to ImageTrend. So there's some last additional fields you might need, which is right here. So I'll go ahead and click IV and then click back. Once you get there, you click this ImageTrend button, and then you can press export. At this point, pressing that export to button gives you an incident number, in which case you can just grab this incident number that you opened up in Elite to actually send that over. So I'll grab this incident number. Paste that in. And then it will actually send over. And then as soon as this finishes, it runs through ImageTrend's validation as well. So it makes sure that it is validated with your form. So there isn't any malformatted data that gets sent over to the Elite chart. All right, so that's successfully sent over. And now we can pass it over to our friends at ImageTrend to show what it looks like in the Elite form.
Thank you, Colton. Give me just a second to make sure I share the right screen here. Okay. So from what we just saw on the OneDose app, coming back into ImageTrend Elite, assuming everything is set up properly, things are pretty straightforward from there. We'll talk a little bit after this about where you can set up this import from OneDose button in your form, but all you'll do is click that. Here we can see that data was found successfully. It'll ask you if you want to import it into the incident, and those will show up in the medications and procedures data, depending on where you have that set up. I'll hit OK. I can go down into my activity section where I have that, and you can see we've got all of that medication now populated. I don't think we did any procedures this time, but very simple, very straightforward. And yeah, glad to see all of that porting through successfully. And just to kind of talk at a high level about the setup. So setup is a one-time process. There are a few steps that it takes to go through. We're going to walk through those so you can kind of see them live. But there are a few important pieces to it as well that we will call out. So all of this will originate from the OneDose app. There is a place where you can request the ImageTrend integration. Might be the same as where you request other ones. I know when I looked yesterday, there's kind of an ImageTrend button right within, I think, the administration console where you can get that set up. That's going to go to Colton and his team. From there, they are going to reach out to our support team at ImageTrend, support@imagetrend.com. There's like a module flag and a couple of other things that will need to be set up by ImageTrend that will then allow you to add the OneDose button to your forms. That will allow you to get things moving from there. Especially if you haven't set up any integrations in the past, that'll be a really important step. If you have, it might take a little bit less time. So the other key piece, you will need to be a system level administrator within Elite. If you're not, you'll want to find your friendly administrator, help walk them through this. We'll make this video available, I believe, to everyone who's watching, so you'll be able to show them. There will be documentation as well. So again, all of this is just a one-time setup. From there, the demo portion that we just showed should move pretty smoothly. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll dive into what that looks like. All right. So once we have some of those administrative pieces set up, then you will hop back in. The first thing you're going to want to do is check your unique state and ID kind of agency number information. That will be under your administration section here, your agency information. And here for this demo, we have the unique state ID set up as this. The agency number is this. You'll need to send this along with your state over to OneDose when you're also sending the integration account details, which we'll go over next. This will be important. Otherwise, the import that we just showed won't work because Elite will be expecting your state agency, your specific state ID, and the state that you are in. Without that, it won't move forward successfully. So make sure that that is sent along. Also, if you haven't set up forms before, you can find that under Tools and Form Manager. If you've set up other integrations, there are buttons similar to this. Here, I believe I have a OneDose item set up. You'll need to ensure, very, very important, another area where you could run into trouble, that you're not using an EMS 3.4. We will be setting this up for 3.5. It will only work for 3.5. So it can look successful on the OneDose side, but then once you go into the form within Elite, if it's 3.4, you'll run into some issues. So it might even be worthwhile to create a brand new form and just make sure, again, that you're on version 3.5. Wow, someone was more clever than me. There we go. So once you are in here, you can set up the form however you'd like. You will find the button under Dataset if you search OneDose. Here's that import from OneDose button. You can drag this wherever you'd like on the form. If you don't see this option when you're searching Dataset, that means that the administration hasn't been set up. So there's that module I talked about that our support team will have to help you set up. That would be the reason that you're not seeing it. But once that is done, that's working, you should be able to put it in. You should be able to save from there. Next, we will want to create the integration account. Again, some of you may have already done this, so it may be repeat information. For those of you that have not, make sure you back out to the system level here. And I should have gone home first to make that a little bit easier. Then you are going to select Data Exchange. And you're going to go to Integration Account Setup. You're going to select a new one. And here you can kind of put whatever you want for the account name, something that's going to make sense for you and your agency. Username could be as simple as OneDose test, kind of like we were working on. The thing that I always forget, and I knew I would forget to mention here, make sure it's set to active. A few different times I've run into not having it set to active. By default, it's set to not active. Otherwise, for the next step, we won't be able to find the account. So make sure it's active. Go ahead and either generate a password here or fill one in. We're going to generate a token as well. This does not have to be sent to OneDose, but this generation has to take place for it to work. So just make sure that you do that. We'll only be sending the username and the password back to OneDose, but that'll be important there. Skip the next two sections. Imports and exports are going to be important. There's two options from this list that we need. There's partner EMS incident 351, and then we also need 350. So you can just hold Control on your keyboard and click. Both should be selected, and then you'll find the agency. So many of you probably will ask, I'm sure, can I get this for my demo account as well? You can absolutely do that. Here in the integration account is where you would want to set up every agency that you have that you want this to work under. We're using 1856 today. You put that over. Make sure you do not use the system level. Make sure you don't use anything kind of at a broad level. Anything that you have set up, if you have, like, if this were a demo agency, you can go ahead and set that up here. That way, the username and password that you send to OneDose will work for everything that you're going to use. One thing to keep in mind that we talked about is your agency information. A lot of times I've seen demo accounts will show the state is Minnesota or maybe a different state than you're in. So just make sure you're checking those account details and sending that or updating it if it's not what you expect it to be. From here, you can go ahead and hit save. I already have one set up. So we will go into the next step, which will be down at the agency level. And that is setting up our endpoint. Again, we'll go to Data Exchange. Endpoints this time, we'll select new. I will not forget to make it active this time. Here, EPCR integration. Again, you can use whatever you'd like. I'm just kind of putting placeholders here for the purpose of this demo. Description, if it's helpful for your agency to kind of understand what this is used for, feel free to fill that out. Endpoint type is going to be Nemesis. We do not need a subtype, but we do need to ensure that the endpoint direction is import and not export. We can ignore the next three fields because those are for exports specifically. For import, we don't need these. The integration account is going to be the one that you just created in the previous step. This is a demo account, so there's a lot of them. You can see we have one set up here, and then you can either edit, you can also create one here if you missed that step. From there, we don't need to fill anything else out other than the import section. So we're going to hit new. You'll remember from the last step, the partner EMS incident, there's 351. We also need that 350. And we're going to set schema to no for both. You'll go ahead and save that. And then that should be all good. So again, you're going to want to make sure that you request in the OneDose app. They'll work with you to get over to our support at ImageTrend.com, get everything going. Make sure to add the button to the run form, the import OneDose button wherever you would like it. Make sure to set up the integration account, make sure it's active. Use that to set up the endpoint and make sure that is active. And then from there, send all of the information over to OneDose for the integration account, your state, your specific state unique identifier, and your agency number. All of that will allow OneDose to get things set up. They'll kind of give you the thumbs up when everything looks good and we can see imports, and then the rest of the demos we showed will work from there. You'll be able to start using OneDose, updating it. You can keep pushing updates to ImageTrend as often as you need to during an incident. And each time you hit the import button, it will overwrite the data with the most recent information that's there. And then the data will just work throughout ImageTrend the way it would if you entered it manually. I'll go ahead and send things back to you, Lydia, for questions.
Awesome. And before we dive into Q&A, Kevin, I believe there is also a site prefix that would need to be grabbed as well.
Correct. Yeah, let me just share really quickly for those that might not be aware. There's a prefix here. There's also like this one is organization demo. This will be the name of your organization. Pass that along as well. Thanks for calling that out.
And then just to close the loop on setup, I'll go ahead and share my screen and give you a demonstration of where to find that on the OneDose admin side. So as soon as you log in, you navigate to settings at the bottom and then integrations. If you have not set up the integration yet, there'll be a list of our other integrations. This is our demonstration account, so it's already set up. At that point, after you request it, this would be the form that you need to fill out with that username that was generated, the password that was generated, the site prefix that comes from that URL that we just went over, and lastly are those unique identifiers for your agency. That state ID, agency number, and the state that you belong to.